Hey guys, Sam here.
And Angela, and welcome to our channel.
Welcome to another video with our RV, old Project Maximus here. We get to do something pretty fun today though. We get to install a performance suspension part.
Ooh.
Performance, yeah, RV. Usually they don't mix. This is a track bar from a company called SuperSteer that is supposed to make my sanity and comfort level while driving elevate, I guess you could say.
Nice.
To kickstart this video, we are going to go back in time a couple of days while Elijah and I take this motorhome on a pre-install road trip. I want to show you guys what kind of situation we're in, what it's like whenever we are traveling down the interstate and get passed by large semi-trucks, and how we have to fight left and right, and basically try my best to illustrate the issue to you. This is one of those things that's going to be difficult to show through camera, but I'm trying my best. As we get pulling out of the driveway, I want to take a second to be honest and upfront with you guys and let you know that I approached SuperSteer whenever I realized I wanted this product and asked them if they would be interested in working with us on this video product partnership, to which thankfully they said yes. So this is a sponsored video, but do realize this is a product we were looking to buy ourselves before we reached out to them for this partnership. The next few clips will show what it's like driving the RV on the interstate and dealing with turbulence from traffic. Watch the windshield seam, as it's a good indicator of how the RV is moving left and right. That's what the track bar is supposed to fix. The left-right movement is a combination of the passing truck pushing or pulling the RV and me trying to keep the RV in my lane, dancing with the steering wheel. Once the truck passes and gets in front of us, the issues are lessened but not completely over. The turbulence from the truck still pushes the RV around until it's well ahead of us. Each time a truck or large vehicle passes, it's a constant dance of the steering wheel to stay in my lane. It probably looks like I'm exaggerating the steering wheel for the video clip, but honestly I'm not. While the steering of our RV's F53 chassis is inherently loose to begin with, later in this video, you'll see just how much the track bar does to take away the dance moves on the steering wheel, which greatly improves my driving experience. Changing to the rear camera, you honestly can't see a great deal of lateral movement here, especially with the GoPro's built-in stabilization. The best clips to show the movement are the slower speed clips from our driveway, but if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll be sure to show you a side-by-side before and after clip that'll show the movement with and without the track bar. So what we have for you guys is the SuperSteer rear track bar, and this particular part is specific to our motorhome. It's a 2008 Ford F53 chassis, so it is part number SS401, but that may be different for you. But for us, in our case, this is SS401, the rear track bar, and as you're seeing, this is a complete kit. You get everything you need for installation, including instructions, parts diagrams, a sticker, and thread locker, wire loom, and some zip ties. That's pretty awesome. The other cool thing is this particular kit came with two different brackets that's going to mount to our rear differential, because there apparently were two different version differentials with our RV or chassis. There is a metric and a standard version, and so you also get different threaded bolts and washers as well. So this truly is a complete kit, and just from moving the stuff around on the table, it is a very strong, sturdy, robust kit, which is exactly what you want, right? It's down there in the business end of your RV where all the stresses and forces of nature are trying to bend it against its will. This guy is there to fight back, and so definitely needs to be one beefin' apparatus. We've taken a couple of minutes here and we've been reading through the instructions. Both myself and Angela, Elijah is also here listening, because this is the installation crew and I want to make sure that we all hear it at the same time. So when we get down there on the ground, we have 3 minds that hopefully will remember all the steps and make sure we don't do anything incorrectly. One of the biggest questions that Angela had, and I also had, was when we go to install this, can we lift the RV up with the leveling jacks to give us more clearance underneath it, or do we not do that? The answer is you leave your RV loaded, which means you want the whole weight of the RV sitting on the suspension. So if you lift it up, which we will do, you lift it up by driving the motorhome onto blocks or ramps, something that is sufficient and strong to raise it up, and that's how you get your working clearance. Do not use leveling jacks. Do not try and jack it up with the frame. You want to physically lift the entire RV up from the wheels so that it remains under its weight and things align properly once you're done on the road and driving. The other thing that we will have to figure out once we are under the RV is if we have a metric or standard differential. The way we will know that is by looking at the bolt heads on our rear differential. If we see numbers, it's metric. If we see little lines or tick marks, kind of like the face of the clock, it is standard. The reason we need to know that is because we have 2 separate differential brackets, one being metric, the other standard, and our bolts that we get with the kit is metric or standard as well. So that's something we don't yet know. Otherwise, we have everything laid out here. We have all talked through the plan, and I think we feel good enough. So let's go ahead and get our motorhome in place. We're going to set out our leveling blocks behind the wheels, then back it up onto them to give ourselves some elevation so we can squeeze under the RV and begin the installation. Two, 3, 4. Alright guys, we are under the RV. We've looked at our bolts and we have numbers. So that means we have the metric rear differential. That also means we're going to be using this metric bracket, and it's going to mount up, I think roughly like that. I can't really see the bolts on the other side, but it's going to mount on this portion of the differential. Our first step is to figure out what 3 bolts to remove and get them out of the way. Using a 21mm impact socket and our electric impact gun, I'm going to remove the 3 bolts that we need to. Holding our bracket into place, we're going to have to move our brake lines over, which is fine. That's part of what they give you stuff for the kit with. But I'm just double checking that these 2 bolts over here are the next 2 to remove. And yes, they are. The impact wrench was not cutting it, so we resorted to a 24-inch breaker bar with a steel pipe to give me extra leverage. Again, using an impact socket, which is very important with this. Standard chrome sockets are not rated for such stresses, and they can explode. Not good. So that one's broke loose. Let's see about this guy. Alright, with those broke loose with the breaker bar, now let's see if the impact wrench can get these off. We're ready to install the new bolts with our bracket. We are using some red thread locker or thread sealant. This is included in the kit. Just putting a little bead right there. And then, hoping I can't spill this on myself. We'll put the bracket up into place. Put the bolt through. And then hand thread it into the hole. You absolutely want to start this by hand to make sure it's not cross-threaded and you don't have any issues before you stick a power tool on this. I'm going to repeat the same steps with the other 2 bolts, doing these just hand threading to begin with. This will make sure everything gets aligned and started correctly. Now that they're started by hand, I'm going to get a socket and go ahead and walk these in by hand with the socket. Then we're going to torque these down to proper specs, which are listed in the instruction manual with the kit. And with that, our differential bracket is installed and our 3 bolts are torqued down. So we may advance to the next level. The next thing we're going to be installing is our frame bracket, and I'm holding it the way you get it in the kit, but to assemble this, we need to remove these 2 grade 8 5/8 bolts out of this, thread them through these slots with lock washers and flat washers to create one assembly that will clamp against our frame. We're putting the frame bracket or frame clamp on now. We have this top piece that rests like that. This bottom piece, you want to lip around the outside edge of your frame and come up just like that. Now we're going to take these 5/8 bolts, the ones we just removed. We've added lock washers and flat washers to them, and we're going to tighten this together. Alright, what I've done is to go ahead and install the rod because I'm going to use it to align our frame bracket to know where to mount it forward and backwards. One thing that's very important with this rod is to know that you have urethane bushings, so the 2 large washers need to go against the bushing, both here and on the back side. Don't put the washer on the back side of the bracket with the head of the bolt. You want it on the back side of your bushing. So I have these just finger tight for right now. What that's going to allow me to do is I now know over here to the left where this is going to mount, and I'll be able to slide my frame bracket back to hand tighten the bolt here as well. Then I can lock down the bracket. You want these in the same plane forwards and backwards so that it works the best for geometry and you don't pinch or stretch the joints of this system. So I have the bolt with the washer. It's going to go right up next to the urethane bushing on that part. Now I'm adding a flat washer here. Again, we're capturing the bushing between 2 washers. So we need to extend this out, and to do that, you just twist the end of this rod left or right to run it in or out. Alright, now we're going to put the lock nut on just hand tight because I'm looking at it from the bottom. I'm going to slide this back to where the geometry is correct. So we're flat against the bracket, top and bottom. With this frame bracket in the correct location forwards and backwards, I'm going to remove the 5/8 bolts, install red thread locker to them, finger tighten them, and then I'm going to tighten these bolts down, which is going to push the pinch plate into the corner of the frame, into that channel. Once that's there, then I'll lock these down, and it will lock it forwards and backwards, left and right, right where we want it. With the frame bracket done, our last thing to do is to lock this rod down, tighten this guy. And it's bugging me because the sticker's upside down, but in the instructions, they show this oriented with the jam nut and the adjustment over here at the frame. So I'm going to let my OCD just freak out and install it just the way the picture shows. Otherwise, tightening the lock nut on this end and the other, and we are done. I put some wire loom that's included in the kit on these hydraulic hoses. Now I'm going to use a zip tie to pull them out of the way so they don't rub against this bracket to cause any issues. This stuff is included with the kit. Okay, how long did that take, do you think, in reality?
I don't know, maybe an hour?
Not too bad. I have no concept of time when I'm working on a project. That's why I look to you. An hour is not bad for this install, especially considering we were filming most of it and it was new to us. I don't know, I would say probably an hour is what you could expect if you're doing this yourself. As far as how things went, thank you Lord we had no broken bolts.
Yes.
Once we got the 3 bolts out of the differential, I told Angela, I said, this is the easy part now, because we're not taking anything off that can be seized up, rusted, or broken. We're only installing new stuff from here forward.
Very true.
Any project is 1 broken bolt away from disaster. Terrible stuff. So what we need to do next is repeat our road test. You guys remember the footage from before that we took? Let's repeat that and let's go for a little drive to see how it looks from underneath with the GoPro, but also what kind of performance and driving and handling differences can we tell on the road. Letting the truck go by. We should have a great opportunity for some trucks to pass us as we're trying to get up to speed. We're also going uphill, so right now I'm doing about 55 and the speed limit on this part is 65. Alright, we have ourselves an 18-wheeler coming up on our side. We'll see how it goes with steering. I'm just going to try one-handed. You can still feel it push a little bit, but my hands on the steering wheel are so much more calm. They are chillaxed by comparison to before when I was really dancing back and forth. The truck's moving over in front of us, so this is now when we're going to get the wind shear. I can feel it a little bit, like it kind of moves back and forth. You can feel it in the whole vehicle, but on the steering wheel, I'm not feeling anything. No problem at all. It's amazing, actually. It's a very big difference. We have another blue 18-wheeler coming up on my driver's side. Let's see how it goes here. I'm going to let off the gas so the drivetrain is not under any tension. In case you didn't know, doing that will put yourself in the worst case scenario for being able to be pushed around with a truck. The general consensus is if you just accelerate a little bit to put tension on your drive shaft when someone passes you, it doesn't do this as much, which is true. So, Sam's tip of the day, I guess. Otherwise, honestly, I'm driving one-handed, which is so nice. So it's worth mentioning what exactly does the track bar do and what does it do not do. The track bar is not going to turn this into a self-driving RV. It's not going to take away your perception and feeling of the road. Your RV is still going to be subjected to forces that you can feel. What the track bar does is calms down the rear end. I mean, let's face it, the motorhome's got a loose, wobbly rear end, but putting the track bar on it really stiffens it up. It locks it in place and gets rid of the right to left lateral movement of that differential in comparison to the frame. That makes it for a much stiffer ride back there, and that means that up here in Steer Town, things are a lot calmer. The track bar does not do anything for body sway, so the tilts left and rights and the curves, that's not what the track bar does. It also doesn't do anything for porpoising, so the bumps and weaves and bounces and all that, it's not that kind of device. And it also is not going to help you with a front tire blowout because it's on the rear axle. Those are all different products. I'm going to deliberately slow down just a little bit because honestly I was doing about 70, which is the speed limit on this road, because I'm not having to fight this RV anymore and I'm driving one-handed. So I'm going to slow down a little bit to let this 18-wheeler go around. He was already in the passing lane to begin with. I think they like to cruise about 75 to 80 on this road. So let's see how it goes, see if it's anything different. He's right there beside us. Feel the push a little bit to the right. It gets beside you. You can feel a little bit of the wind sachet. It's still there, but it's all in the body. It's not in the steering as much. He's now in front of us. No big deal, still one-handed. And yeah, a piece of cake. So very, very cool. The track bar has made a perceptive, noticeable difference, which is great. Very good. Well, I am back, and Elijah's back from our tour of the road again, and as you guys have already heard me talk in the RV, it's a lot better. But to include you, it's a lot better.
Nice.
I mostly drove with one hand now, which is a big difference. Normally it's like seesaw on the steering wheel, but it doesn't get rid of all the movement like I told you guys while we're on the road, but it makes the movement in the chassis and steering mostly disappear.
That's cool.
It's really hard to explain. I mean, it's not totally gone, but I don't know.
It's better.
Some of those things, you just got to drive it to tell. But it is good that I can tell a difference, right? We would have hated to have gone through all that work, and me said, well, it doesn't feel any different.
Can't tell.
Right, but it definitely feels different. Overall, wasn't too bad of installation though, right?
No, I don't think so. It was actually, I don't know, we didn't get any video of me being under there because I was behind the camera, but I was able to sit upright underneath the thing. So that was kind of shocking that I was able to do that.
Yeah, perks of the RV. But hey, big props to our leveling blocks, right? The Lynx levelers.
Yes, that made it better.
And it was a really good application of those blocks. That credit goes to you. You're the one that said, how about our orange blocks? As we were talking.
Our Legos.
Yeah. We were talking about how we're going to lift it up, and you said, our blocks. Great idea.
Yay.
Well, thanks again to SuperSteer for working with us on sitting this and letting us install it and share our experiences with you guys. Definitely check the links down below if you want to see this product plus all the others that they make and sell. It is a good made in USA company, which, as we know, is a pretty rare thing nowadays, unfortunately. Otherwise,
thanks guys for coming along. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time.
see ya.
Bye.
And that rear end of your motorhome goes left and right, and you think it's about to leave the chat. They're not going to know what that means, are they? Do you know what such and such left the chat?
No, not really.
Okay, if you don't know it, that's bad. Redo. So we put on our lock washer and then our flat washer. Put it through the slot and then hand thread it back into the same holes it was in from the kit.
Aren't you going to need to put it on the frame first?
And we listened to the wife. I'm glad you thought of that. Thankfully, they said yes. Is a redneck of the world coming down the road?
Actually, a little car.
How is that a little car? That sounded like a Dodge, like a big old... You having fun beating me up back there? As we get pulling out of the driveway, I want to be upfront honest.
It's like
Honest.
speeding through it, honey.
Driving and handling differences can we tell on the road? No, let's go.
Oh.
That's
Let's go.
because you're not going.
Nope.
You're like, have fun. I'm going inside to read my book, and you can go be the weird guy in an RV with cameras everywhere, I guess.
Okay.
YouTubers. So this is a enjoy.
You sound all...
Yeah, but you know what's weird? I'm talking and I'm listening to what I've said and I'm critiquing what I said while I'm also thinking about what I want to say. And sometimes I'll hear myself in my head and it makes me forget. Because I'm like, why did you say apparatus? Did you say beefin'? Are you going to say beefin'? Or are you going to say beefy?
Ethan.
I don't, but it's like, that's thoughts in my head, which is probably really, really weird.
I try not to look at you because I don't want to derail you or whatever. So I just sit here
I try
staring.
not to look at you.
So I just sit here staring at the ground.
Oh, no, you're fine. I have tunnel vision. Oh. Alright, note. When we were driving, those fall leaves are about to pop.
Really?
We need to hit the road, I don't know, Virginia or somewhere.
Okay.
You liked Roanoke. The one time we went to the Washington, D.C., you liked Roanoke.
We can go up that way.
Alright, let's do something.
Okay.
What? The awkwardness because the camera's rolling and you feel like this is fake?
A little bit.
No, I'm serious though. We should go camp before it gets too